Well, someone who knows Boris Johnson pretty well is the Liberal Senator James McGrath, who joins me this afternoon. Thanks for joining me.
That's cool.
You worked with Boris Johnson, yes. How long ago was that?
Oh, a long time ago now, 2007, 2008, on the first mayoral campaign. And then for a period
You kept
afterwards.
in touch with him?
Yeah, keep in touch with him and keep in touch with the staff around him also.
Right,
yeah.
OK. Look, he's, the cartoonists are already having a field day. He's depicted as a bit of a clown, given his stunts and the way he hogs the limelight from time to time. Is that the real Boris Johnson?
Yes and no, but you don't become Prime Minister of the United Kingdom by being a clown. You know, underneath that crazy hair and that sort of Womble or Wimbledon a persona is actually quite a smart person. There is an element of cunning there, and that's how he's ended up being Prime Minister. He's the last man standing. What
do you think the attraction has been, though, for the... Well, this has been a vote not of the British people, but of the Conservative Party members. Why have they been attracted to Boris Johnson?
Because they relate to him. So it's not just the Tory party members, it's the population. Because when we talk about Boris, we just use his first name. We often don't use both names. It's Boris. And that's quite rare for a politician to have that. And there's a real contradiction here with Boris. He's socially liberal. Most of the Tory party membership will probably be a bit more conservative than that. He's a London Tory. How
does that manifest itself, do you think, in his policy outlook?
Well, he's got a foot in both London in terms of what you call modern Britain and also in terms of probably old Britain as such. So he understands you've got to take people with you. And that's a tough gig for any politician to do. But, as you pointed out in your opening remarks, he won with a 2/3 majority. That's pretty big.
Yes, thumping win. The question now is, can he hold his parliamentary Conservative caucus together? Because we've already seen cabinet ministers say, no, we just disagree with this Brexit approach that he's got of a no-deal Brexit. We can't serve as part of that cabinet. How difficult will that be to bring those forces together?
Extremely difficult. You cannot overstate how difficult that is going to be. But the Tory party, it's been around for about 200 years. And the reason it's been around for 200 years, it's actually quite pragmatic. This is the party that in the 1950s built millions of homes, and then in the 1980s sold them all off. So there's this real ruthless streak of pragmatism that goes through them. And if the choice is between Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister or a Brexit deal, if it's hard Brexit or some sort of blancmange mess, you'll see the Tories will go for Boris to make sure they stop Jeremy Corbyn getting into Downing Street.
But has the Tory party ever seen the likes of Boris Johnson?
No one has. No one has. Like, this guy is a force of nature. And it's really interesting because too many politicians around the world sort of wear the suits, are boring, they use the talking points and use acronyms.
Not Boris Johnson and not Donald Trump. I want to ask you about this. Is this the new... Is this the attraction? Is this the new breed of politics?
It's authenticity. That's what it is. I mean, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. What you see is what you get. You love him or hate him. Boris is what you see. In private, he's exactly the same as he is in public in terms of, yes, he can be a bit shambolic. Yes, sometimes he might lose things, but he's focused on what needs to be achieved. They're both big personalities, but they're both different personalities. You look at what Boris wants to do. He's outward looking. He wants to make... Look what he did when he was Mayor of London during the London Olympics. He just became the face for the world in terms of what London is about. And that's what the Tory party needs, is to have someone who's positive and open about the country. He will delegate. That's what he did when he was Mayor of London. He had a guy called Sir Eddie Lister, who was leader of Wandsworth Council, which is one of the Tory flagship borough councils, like low taxes, good services. He'll get other people to do all the work, and he'll focus on selling.
These big personalities, bold personalities, not your normal politician, Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, would that style of leader work here?
I think it could work here. I mean, I think it could, but you've just got to be that authentic element of it. You can't fake it. Some politicians have tried to do it. I think Kevin Rudd tried to fake it in terms of, fair suck of the sauce bottle and things like that. Doesn't really crack through. I think ScoMo's got it in terms of that authenticity, but Australians...
But he's not exactly the sort of madcap big, bold personality.
No, he's not. Queenslanders were probably used to sort of people coming with big personalities in terms of the frontier state that Queensland still is sometimes. But it's connecting with people, and that's what Boris can do. Even though he uses these massive big words, even though he'll flip into Latin sometimes, people feel like he's talking directly to them, into the eyes, and they just relate to him. I saw this famous clip, I think last night. This lady just went up to him and said, "Can I have your ice cream?" So they just took and he gave his ice cream to the total stranger because she just felt she could. People feel like they own him. Isn't that brilliant? And slightly mad.
Well, perhaps. Look, the real test will be, though, how he manages this whole Brexit situation. Do you see it ultimately ending in an election or another referendum on this?
There won't be another referendum. I think that would destroy the country. You can certainly see an early election.
Would the election be a quasi-question referendum on Brexit?
That will probably end up being the case. But if Boris is smart, he'll also make it a referendum on Jeremy Corbyn. In terms of
whose position isn't clear cut either.
No,
well,
he's just sailed through the last few years quite brilliantly when you think about it, in terms of not trying. He's escaped 2 leadership coups. He's disliked by all of his MPs, but he's still there. He's the great survivor of British politics at the moment. You can certainly see an early election. If not before October 31, if that deadline is failed to be reached, and depending on what the Brexit Party are doing, you could see an election in November or December. And there hasn't been an election in November or December for a very, very long time.
And from a purely parochial view, Australia's view, would a no-deal Brexit benefit Australia, do you think? Do you think there'd be stronger gains for us in trying to have a trade deal with the UK that pulls on the Commonwealth heartstrings and so on? Would that be a better outcome for us?
Probably, but I think from an Australian perspective, how the Brits exit is probably up to them, whether it's soft or hard, and depends on the Irish backstop. We all were very keen to get a free trade agreement with them. And when you go over there, they're so keen to have a free trade agreement with us, but also with Canada and New Zealand. But my reading of the Tories, particularly us, there's a real soft spot towards Australia in the British Tory Party, and and Boris, having dealt with Linton, and back in the day when I was was a squid myself, he relates to us because we've got that sunny disposition.
You do. I can't argue with that. Before I let you go, James McGrath, how's the nuclear power push going? You're on board for something happening on this front?
Something happening, a lot of discussions happening. I'm just keen to have an adult conversation about it. It's really disappointing that one of the Queensland State Labor ministers has come out today and just running another scare campaign on it. Look, why can't we have an adult conversation about this issue? That's all we want, without people wanting to run a scare campaign on it.
Are you getting anywhere with your own leadership, though?
There's a lot of discussions happening. So I'll get my hands sort of smacked if I say any more than that. We want to try and have some sort of inquiry into it, but it's above my pay grade.
Well, you've just dangled a red rag there for me to say.
I'm sorry about that. I'm not really good at this media thing, am I?
Discussion going on. You can't say any more than that.
Look, Keith Pitt and I are pushing it, and we're going to keep pushing it because we're both.
The PM did say to you all yesterday, in the party room meeting, you're what was the word? You're disrespecting your colleagues when you freelance on policies that we didn't take the election.
And the PM also.
About you?
Well, a lot of people talk about me, but that's their business, not mine. But as backbenchers, we've got the freedom to go out there and push policy issues. We're not bound by the Labor Party. We were locked away in some windowless room.
So that message isn't for backbenchers. You can still go out and.
Well, we've got to make sure we push lower taxes. We've got to go and make sure we push what's happened this week in terms of foreign fighters and drought aid.
But you feel free to talk about nuclear power.
As a Queensland senator, I'm always going to stand up for the mob in Queensland, and people just want us to have an adult conversation. Go around the state. Why can't we talk about this issue? It's also party policy of the LNP in Queensland too.
The nuclear power is?
In terms of having an inquiry into nuclear power. So.
All right. So you're just.
I'm just standing up for my people in Queensland.
And your party platform position.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right, Senator. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon.
Cheers.
Keen to talk more about that.